Hey guys, it's Jack here, and today we're going to be talking about the Hashira from Demon Slayer and why I think that they might be one of the best groups of characters in anime. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, different groups in anime. In Bleach, we have the Gotai 13, we have the Espada, we have the Stern Ritter. In Naruto, we have people like the Akatsuki, people like the Genin from the Leaf Village. With One Piece, we have the Admirals, we have the Warlords. You get the idea of what I'm trying to say. Hunter x Hunter, the Phantom Troop. There's countless examples, especially in Shonen. And I reckon the Hashira are quite possibly the best is a strong word, because I wouldn't say they're the best. I would probably classify the Akatsuki as the best for what their purposes in the series was. But for how quickly I became connected to the Hashira, to each individual member with their appearance, their powers, but most importantly, their personalities, you could, in my mind, you could definitely say top three groups of all time. Now, is that me saying Demon Slayer is a top three anime of all time? Not necessarily. I do think it's one of the best anime of all time. And I know that's a bit of a cliche pick to make because Demon Slayer is that type of anime where people that have only watched one or two animes like really, really love. But then hardcore, toxic anime fans will be like, no, 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 no. You need to like really, 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 really niche anime picks. And I reckon that's rubbish. I've been watching anime for over 10 years. Probably, I think I started around when I was 10. So nearly 15 years I've been watching anime, and I like really, really niche picks, but I really like super, super common, universal, like great anime choices. And for the Demon Slayer is one of them in my mind. I'm someone that's read the manga and watched the anime up until the current new season. Now, don't worry about spoilers, we're not going to get into any manga territory. To get into the Hashira, we don't even need to go into the manga. Because I reckon from the moment they appeared in the end of season one, they immediately grabbed the audience's attention with their very slick and unique character designs. And then the brief glimpses of their personalities that we see, I reckon is like truly fabulous. Because we get introduced to Giyu first in episode 1, and we see how he spares Tanjiro. So we know that this is a good guy here that we're dealing with. He's someone that's honourable. And we don't get much more from Giyu himself until we get to the most recent season of the anime, where we get more introduced to his character. Now, I'll talk about him first, rather than like jumping all over the place. But he wasn't the first Hashira that I became connected with. That would have been Rengoku and Shinobu to a lesser extent. But we'll get into those two after we wrap up Giyu very briefly. Because this isn't going to be like a 40-minute video. If any of you guys have been following my channel recently, I am very, very busy at the moment, and I just need to get this one out to you guys. But in the most recent season of the anime, we find out that... sorry about that. I'm not sick for once. I do have really bad hay fever right now, though. Let me know down in the comments who suffers from hay fever, who is suffering with me. It's getting to spring, and it is absolutely killing me. But in the most recent season of Demon Slayer, we get introduced to a lot of the guilt that Giyu. I'm pretty sure I'm pronouncing that right. Could be wrong. Tomioka or whatever his name is, the Water Hashira, where we get introduced to a lot of the guilt that he's been feeling because oh Jesus. I'm not going to cut it, otherwise I'll be making 100 cuts. Where he tells us that he doesn't feel like he's worthy of being called the Water Hashira because he doesn't believe that he passed the first exam. Because it was his friend, and I'm completely blanking on his name, the orange-haired boy that Tanjiro met when he was training to cut the boulder, where he met the other student spirits. I'm forgetting his name. Let me know about it down in the comments. And we find out that they were teammates. They were training together. And we see that Subito, is it? I think that just came to me. Subito. I believe it is that. where I'm calling him that anyway, that's his new name from now on, where Sabito sacrifices himself and he dies to the hand demon, and Giyu was only really able to run away, stand back and be helpless while his friend sacrificed himself. But he passed the test because he got through the week period or whatever it was without dying. But he doesn't feel like that was worthy enough to pass, let alone become a Hashira. So we learn about all this guilt that he's been feeling, and we learn about how he really just wants to become friends with his fellow Hashira, his fellow members of the Demon Slaying Corps. We see this where he has a interaction with Tanjiro about the Wind Hashira, where he talks about how he's going to start carrying around, I think it's red bean paste, something along those lines, the Wind Hashira's favourite food. He's going to carry that around on him in case he ever has the chance to provide this food to the Wind Hashira, because he knows how much he likes it and he wants to be friends with everyone. Which is just a very endearing trait that he has that we never would have known of from his first introduction. He seemed to be the very cold and aloof character, but they've switched it around a lot there, where he honestly comes across as a little puppy, essentially, that just wants to be liked by everyone. Now, and this is interesting, I'm not in touch with the Demon Slayer's fan base. Like, this is my first Demon Slayer video I've ever done. I reckon Giyu would probably be my least favourite Hashira, I would probably say. Now, I'm not saying that as a negative to him, I just reckon the others are so great and captivating to watch, where Giyu kind of falls behind a little bit. But let me know down in the comments, is he one of your favourite Hashira? Is he one of your least favourite? Do you rank him mid? Like, where does he sit in Demon Slayer's fans, like, opinion, like your subjective belief in how good of a character he actually is? And once again, we're talking about anime only, because I know some of the stuff he does do in the manga that might bring up that opinion of him. But we get introduced to Giyu first, and then he makes another appearance where he saves them all from the forest and what's his name? I'm completely blanking on it. The spider demon's name, the lower moon, Rui. There we go. All the names coming back to me after I'm talking about them. He comes down with Shinobu, and out of the two of them, they've come to bail the other kids out. And it's Shinobu out of the two that really grabbed my attention. She has a very unique looking blade, and she has a mixture of a kind yet twisted personality, where she's having what seems to be like a heart-to-heart with a demon, and then just mercifully, that's the exact opposite, where she mercilessly kills her and takes her out. And that just immediately drew my attention on towards her. And I feel like Shinobu is one of the Hashira that gets like the most exposure. She doesn't get a specific arc, but she's always the one that's there. She has some really cool interactions with Tanjiro as well, I reckon. A very slick character design, but to be honest, all of the Hashira do. And we get, once again, I can briefly touch on it because some of it's been included in the anime. We find out about her backstory, about everything with her sister dying, her Shinobu having to be forced to kind of abandon her more brash and reckless nature and become someone that's worthy of being a Hashira, taking responsibility of Kano. And this is where we see more of a nurturing side to Shinobu that was just great for her character, where we see that through the grief and the tragedies that she's dealt with in her life, as has every member of the Hashira, that she's still able to be someone worthy of leading other people. She might be twisted in her desire to, like, because I reckon she's probably the most vengeful one out of all the Hashira, where she just wants to murder them all, and especially, she has a relationship with one of the upper moons, and that's a different video, a video solely based on her. But I wanted to start with Shinobu and Giyu because they get introduced, and great designs, great powers, We get touched on their personalities a bit, and they're enjoyable characters. But I'm going to shock you all from someone who's gushing about the Hashira. They're not the ones that really kind of just grabbed my attention. It's like, oh my god, these characters are amazing. They were a good introduction to the Hashira, but it's when we get introduced to Rengoku in the Mugen Train arc, where I'm like, far out, what an amazing character this guy is. Now, he gets introduced, and for somehow in like 6 to 8 episodes, I forget however many it is, because we're talking about the show, not the movie, how they're able to make me care about a character so much is, like, that is what art is. That is just a masterpiece, what they were able to do with Rengoku. To this day, still my favorite character in Demon Slayer, favorite Hashira, one of my just favorite characters of all time. In terms of characters that weren't introduced for long, didn't have much screen time, he would be in my top 10 favorite characters of all time if we were using that criteria. He's just a phenomenal character. There's not many at all, like in any forms of fiction, where I truly became so attached to a character so quickly. And I think it had a lot to do with how noble and honorable he was. I know that's a little, like, those traits in a character are a little bit vanilla, I dare say. And it doesn't really draw people in. And to be fair, a big part of me liking characters is the exact opposite. Because I'm more of if you ask me 9 times out of 10, my favorite characters would be the villains. An example in Demon Slayer, Akaza. Absolutely love Akaza. But then characters like Aizen, Madara, Doflamingo, Gilgamesh, Enaru, Esdeath, like any type of villain character I generally usually love. But I also, on that flip side, I like really, really honorable and noble characters that aren't afraid to sacrifice themselves for other people. And, we could do a whole video analyzing my psychology behind liking characters like that. But an example would be Jinbei from One Piece. He immediately became one of my favorites, and I dare say he's probably my favorite Straw Hat. I'm not really sure I ever hear anyone having that take. Lots of people like Jinbei, but he's to be your favorite Straw Hat. Like, I just love that sort of honorable personality that him and Rengoku share. Another character, and a character that also grabbed my attention so quickly with the limited screen time they had, would have been Whitebeard as well. Like, he showed up and I was instantly down with him. He was just, the way he carried himself, like how he exudes this reassurance to all his comrades. That's what Rengoku did. When he's there, you can literally feel how much more secure and how much more confident, and how, like, he's like this protective bubble, and how just comfortable he's making the main cast that's around him. He just has that aura, which I find very, like, appealing in a character to be, like, drawn into. And we get some backstory from him as well, which I'm not going to go into, because once again, that can be a whole Rengoku video. But he bursts onto the scene and really, really grabs my attention. And, I'm thinking, oh, that's a nice thing. He's my favorite character now. And, I'm looking forward to what the other Hashiras can do. But not, like, super, like, excited about seeing them, if that makes sense. I know that wasn't very elegant, but my point is, like, I just thought it was a one-off type of thing. Like, oh, I really, really loved that character. Didn't think that I thought I would like the other Hashira, but I didn't think I'd be loving them. And then we get into the next arc and we get introduced to Tengen. Not as good as Rengoku, but so good. His personality and his dynamic with the main trio, very different than how Rengoku's was. Tengen's relationship with them is more teasing and more, more fun uncle-ish, if that makes sense. But no less has that protective side of him, like when him and Tanjiro are fighting the Upper Moon's, I forget their names, but the 2 upper 6 ranked demons. And it's just really, really, because I'm not even just going off the art, because we know how visually stunning Demon Slayer is. I'm not even talking about how great the fights were in the Entertainment District arc, because they were better than Mugen Train's fights. But it's the character himself that I'm talking about. His desire to protect his wives. He's, like Rengoku, he's willing to sacrifice himself to protect everyone around him. He's one of those larger than life characters that you can't help but be excited watching, if you know what I mean. And it was his introduction and his arc where I'm like, shit, like two absolute amazing characters, not just for the show, but just in anime in general. Like, very, very memorable characters. And I'm thinking, far out, maybe I do need to pay like closer attention to the Hashira. Because once again, Giyu and Shinobu, by no means bad characters, and I quite like their characters, but they weren't those ones where you'd be like texting your friends, like, oh my god, did you see what Rengoku did? Did you see Tengen? Like, Jesus. It wasn't anything like that. And it was through seeing, like, 2 arcs in a row, back to back, like, Jesus, these are great characters. And then we get the Swordsmith's Village arc, and they somehow are able to do it again by introducing Tokito, the Mist Hashira, and Kanroji, I believe it is, the Love Hashira. Just so I'm not making an ass out of myself, I'll just call her the Love Hashira from now on. We get introduced to these two, and to put it simply, I like Tokito more than the Love Hashira, but the Love Hashira is very, very close to being like Tengen levels for me. And we get 2 of them in one arc. So we get introduced to Tokito, who's this, kind of like Giyu in a way, this very aloof, very non-caring kind of cynical, harsh character. And it's juxtaposition because he's like 14 years old. He has the appearance of a child. And, you're watching like, oh, this guy's a bit of an asshole type of thing. But the more and more we see of him, and we see his backstory with his twin brother, the more and more I'm starting to really, really like this character. And his fight with the 5th Upper Moon, where, despite getting hurt and everything, he like has MC levels of freaking resolve and conviction, and ends up kind of, saving the day for that fight, winning that fight. And then we get the most recent season of the anime. So if you haven't watched that, it is spoilers. I am going to be talking about stuff that happens in there. But specifically in that arc, we see not just the character progression of Tokito becoming a better person in the Swordsmith's Village arc, but in the Hashira training arc, we see the results of that, which is something we don't often see. We usually see a character's character development, and then they reach that development that the authors are trying to tell us, the audience, and then it kind of ends. But we see the results of this change in Tokito, where he's more friendly, he's more caring to the other Demon Corps members. He has a bond with Tanjiro from everything they went through. Because it's Tanjiro that's been able to open Tokito's eyes. They have this absolute amazing scene with paper aeroplanes, for God's sake. Like, if you guys have watched it, that scene where Tanjiro brings the paper aeroplane out and they're having that competition, and he loses 10-0, and then all the other Demon Slayer members, literally no-name characters, come out and start flying the paper planes as well. It's probably top 3 most emotional moments in the series. And just such a great scene, because it encapsulates so much. It tells us everything that we need to know, that this 14-year-old boy, so it's very in character for liking like paper aeroplanes, that is one of the 9 characters that hold the weight of the world on his shoulders, is finally able to let loose and just enjoy being around people his own age, people that consider him a good person and that are willing to get close to him even with his still somewhat aloof demeanor. Like, Tokito easily second favorite character in all of Demon Slayer, just behind Rengoku. Once I see, because once again, I've read the manga, the last chunk of, it's actually kind of from when, 10 chapters into where the anime left off. From that moment on, I kind of just wasn't feeling it that much. The art in the manga wasn't really doing it for me. And I wasn't just connecting with the characters as much as I do in an anime. That's just my subjective opinion in I just prefer anime as a medium to digest, like, the fiction that I love. Anime, manga, that's the fiction that I love the most. And I just prefer seeing it like visually on screen rather than on page. When I read a manga, it's usually to get all the information that's going on rather than connecting with the characters or liking like the fight scenes. And at this stage in the show, a lot of it was fights, and I just wasn't really feeling it. So I skipped through a lot of it. I know all the Shinobu and the stuff with her, what happens there, won't spoil anything. And some of the stuff with the first upper rank demon and the stuff with Akaza. So I know all that. I know what happens with Muzan and how it finishes and everything like that. But I can't wait to see Tokito more in the anime in the next season or the next movie, whatever it's going to be, to see if he kind of will bump Rengoku down a little bit. But we get introduced to Kanroji. I really, really hope that's right. Either way, it's close enough. And to see her, the struggle she's gone through, where being a woman in this time and the absurd amount of strength that she had and how that made her an outsider made you really, really sympathetic to her as a character. And then we see this bubbly personality that she has that for some reason doesn't come across as annoying like it does in a lot of other anime. I don't know how they've been able to do it with her, but like her interactions with the main cast, her abilities in the fight and her willingness to not try but risking her own life to fight the upper ranks, and just how she can stay so positive in a series where most characters are very nihilistic and cynical to what they're facing. She was just a really, really needed breath of fresh air, and I really, really took to her as a character. I I reckon that for like a bubbly air-headed characters, she's probably one of the best just in anime in general. And once again, the character design is just flawless. She looks amazing in it. I love her love breathing techniques. I reckon they're like really creative. So I'm not gonna try and lie or hype her up to be better than the Rengoku, Tengen, and Tokito, but she's a very, very great character, and a character where you see her and you just want to see more and more of her. You want to see her have more interactions with Tanjiro, and you want to see her have more interactions with a character we're going to get into in a second. But she's just such a compelling character, and that gets me into, and I feel like they've done this deliberately. So we've listed 6 Hashira, and the 3 that we have left is Obara, I believe his name is. Actually, the next 3 I'm probably going to butcher the names on. So the Snake Hashira or the Serpent Hashira, I can't remember which one it is. The Stone Hashira and the Wind Hashira. These 3 I think were kept for last on purpose because those 3 kind of, the backstories they have and the part that they play in the story seems to be the most prevalent, with potentially the exception of Giyu because he was like the first character introduced to Tanjiro. But those 3, not only do they probably have... you see, it's so hard to say because all the character designs are so good. But the Wind Hashira and the Snake Hashira especially, they're the 2 that kind of grabbed my attention first when they were all lined up, not including Rengoku. The golden hair and the red and stuff, that captured my attention the most. But those 2 were you see him, the Wind Hashira, covered in scars, and you're like, what kind of backstory has this man had? And in the Hashira training arc, we get more glimpses of their personalities, where they're not just cold, heartless bastards. They might be like that to the people of lesser rank than them. But not only, all the Hashira are, but not only are... far out. Not only are they incredibly loyal to Uwabashiki... I completely have forgotten his name. The leader of the Demon Slaying Corps. Not only are they super, super loyal to him, but they're very friendly with each other. They never none of the Hashira, with the exception of how they view Giyu, which is kind of played up for laughs, they all like get along. There's not really like, no, we're going to do it my way, you're weak, you can't do this, I'm going to be the one in charge. They seem to just be a group of friends that really, really like trust each other and know that they all have the master's best interest at heart. So we see the Snake and Wind Hashira sparring between each other numerous times, going on missions together. And that's just great to see the two characters that look the most kind of cold and heartless, to be at least open with each other. But with the Snake Hashira, we get the vibes that he has feelings for the Love Hashira. I swear I was saying it better before. Kanroji, I think. Where we get his interactions with her and how he's like jealous over Tanjiro because he thinks she's showing more affection to him. And that's just a great little scene, like a very Orochimaru looking character actually caring about how the people around him are like, not just viewing him himself, but how they're reacting to the other people around them, because he's like, those two being together, the most kind of cold character out of them all, because the Wind Hashira is more like angry rage rather than just like that cool, collected, cold character like the Snake Hashira is. But his like secret side where he seems to really care about Kenroji is whatever. Just go along with me. That's just really, really great and very, very endearing. And the Wind Hashira's relationship with his brother and everything that's gone on along there and the past with their family was very, very captivating. We don't have enough information on them to be as good as the three that I've just been truly gushing over. But I reckon by the end of the series, they're going to be up there with them. Shinobu's definitely going to be up there with him. And I even reckon my least favorite one out of all of them, Giyu, is going to be up there as well. Like, they're all just going to be, at the climax of this series, definitely top three best groups in anime, I reckon. And that's such a high bar to set. It's truly crazy. But we've got one left. We've got the Stone Hashira. And his level of honorable isn't the same type of thing that Rengoku had. It's similar, but his is more no-nonsense, super serious, very religious, very much a philosophical character. And I'm not going to get into that too much because, once again, I don't want this video to be too long. We'll do separate character analysis videos on these guys if you want them. But when we get introduced to his training arc, what he wants them to do, and then when he has that conversation with Tanjiro about how it's you saying that you're not worthy of it, that worthy of my compliments, that makes you actually worthy of them. He's seeing in Tanjiro what he's only really truly seen in his master. Because we know his backstory and everything that happened with the kids and how he felt let down with all of that. How he awakened this strength that he never knew he had. How, like, when he just bursts in and just beheads Muzan. Like, that's not personality, that's like superficial stuff there. But the way he like carries himself, I just thought was really, really great. I love that he is a Stone Hashira and he's the strongest one. Because it's a bit of a pet peeve with me. Whenever you see like characters that control some sort of earth, and I know he's like, it's swordsmanship techniques, it's not like he's controlling the element, but whenever we see characters like that, they're never usually the strongest. It's usually like the guys that control fire or lightning or anything like that. Like, when you just get introduced to the characters, like the Hashira in the beginning, in Season 1, I reckon Rengoku is the one that I'm like, he's probably the strongest. He kind of was in the middle a lot. He was the most outspoken, and not including the Wind Hashira, but he would have been my next pick as well. The firepower, just how confident he was in himself. He kind of gave me the vibes of the strongest. But no, like, they've completely flipped that. And the more quiet, zealot, religious man of the group, the blind man of the group, is the strongest one out of all of them, which I just thought was a really, really nice touch. The character design, absolutely flawless. All the beads, the constant white blind eyes, the outfit, the just the way that he's on screen and he takes up the whole screen whenever he's on. He's just a really, really great character. Seeing him go from the meek, not meek, but the more reserved character that he was, but no less like when push comes to shove, I'm gonna like stand up and defend you guys. He was never cowering or anything like that. I just thought was really, really great. And once again, like the Snake and Wind Hashira, at the end of this series, he's going to be up there with the other three, with all of them. So let me know down in the comments. Am I just speaking shit? Did you guys feel the same here? Or if you're like, nah, Jack, not even in my top 10 favorite groups of all time. And once again, try not to let your biases on the series as a whole impact your decision here. Because I reckon the Hashira are easily the show stealers in Demon Slayer. They're 100% the best characters in all of it. And without them, I reckon Demon Slayer would be very mid. Now, that's not me insulting the main trio of characters, or the Upper Moons and Muzan. I reckon some of them are decent in their own way. Akaza, I really love. Upper Moons 6, I really loved. Tanjiro, Zenitsu, and Inosuke, I don't particularly love any of them individually. As a unit, as the three of them together, I really, really love though. And I reckon it all comes together just with the Hashira on top that does make Demon Slayer such a franchise, not a franchise, such a show that non-anime fans will come to and really, really love. And people that do like anime just get another great shonen to add to the list of things that they can go back and rewatch. Demon Slayer is very much a show that you can just like it's the story in it isn't overly complicated like something like One Piece. It's easy to sit back through and rewatch it, especially because it's not that long, all things considered. But once again, absolutely love the Hashira, especially Rengoku, Tokito, and Tengen. I thought those three were amazing. I can't wait to see what happens with the Stone, Wind, and Snake Hashiras. Always love the bubbly Kanroji and what we see in the manga with Shinobu and everything that goes on with her fight just adds to an extra echelon to that character that we just haven't seen yet. And same of true with Giyu and everything that he does in his fight. So if you guys are anime only, you have more than enough to look forward to when we get Demon Slayer coming back to us. But let me know what you thought of the video. If you guys liked it, make sure to like and subscribe. Once again, this wasn't a particularly in a lot of my videos, I feel like I like to try and make some sort of philosophical point of why I really like why this character is doing X, Y, and Z. I like to try and not make it so just like a point to the video, I guess you could say. This is more just I wanted to gush about the Hashira. First Demon Slayer content on my channel. If you want more, let me know down in the comments. But guys, it's been my pleasure deciphering everything. Is it deciphering? Probably the wrong outro here, Jack. It's been my pleasure just being able to sit down and just gush about such a great cast of characters. And let me know down in the comments what you guys think of them. But guys, I've been Jack. It's been a pleasure making this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.